What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? It's 420 in California, and this is DC420LA.
But I think in terms of marijuana, and legalization, I think that should be a state issue, state by state. I think it's up to the states, yeah. I'm a states person. I think it should be up to the states, absolutely. You know, I know people that are very, very sick, and for whatever reason, the marijuana really helps them.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
Terrorists keep terrorizing.
Well, Beauregard, the good people of New York's Senator Kirsten Gillibrand is going on the road for cannabis, while in California, our last prohibitionist, Dianne Feinstein, fails to get the endorsement of state Democrats in the June primary. Is the 84-year-old out of touch with progressive millennials on marijuana? And is marijuana law reform the most important issue of 2018 and 2020? We'd say it's pretty close. This is DC420LA, and we're live.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
Well, once again, Beauregard, I'd say that there are plenty of good people smoking marijuana, and we're a couple of them today. Yes, we are joined in the YouTube chat and elsewhere. Boy, lots of places to talk about. What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? I'm Dave Conan. This is indeed DC420LA, the Week in Weed on YouTube, and we are live. It's 420 in California, and of course, when I do say weed. When I say weed and I say we, I mean my co-host in cannabis and in life, Coach Chella.
Hi.
Hello, Chella.
Hey,
how are you doing?
Great. Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us again today.
And we have Oscar Grumbledore in the background there. He's chilling back there.
He just had a nice meal.
He's fed,
took his medicine,
relaxing, and this is great. This is, of course, a medical marijuana show. You should be 21 years of age or over to watch the program. If you're not, go on and get your parents and bring them on back in.
That's right. We have lots of good stuff to share.
We do indeed. This is an educational show about medical marijuana and recreational cannabis, whatever you would like to call it, because it is the state of California, and it is legal recreationally as well as medicinally. And when you recreate, you medicate. So thanks for joining us, everybody. This is indeed DC420LA on YouTube. Subscribe, get notifications for when we do go live. We do this every Sunday at 4:20 Pacific. So thank you for joining us. And today, Chella, we are going out over numerous platforms.
So many platforms, Dave.
So many platforms, so little time. So much time. I'm just going to get you a little framed a little bit better here in your comfy chair. There you go. Now I feel better. You looked a little strange. Now you look perfect.
Oh, okay, thanks.
So Chella, we're going out. Not only are we going out, of course, over YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, those standard places, but we're going out over a number of other streaming services, including Twitch. We're going out over Twitch, Stream Me, YouNow, Smashcast, Ustream, and as of today, as of last week, actually, we started doing it, and we are going out over Steam It through DLive, and I just checked, and it's working.
Why are we going out over all these different services?
Because we're trying to we're trying to mainstream marijuana and normalize cannabis use across this country and across the world.
All right.
Because we've got we've got a lot of amazing stuff going on in America around the topic of cannabis. And let me just welcome, as a matter of fact, in DLive right now on Johnny Mills, let me get some Girl Scout cookies. We're on board with that. It's called GSC now in the cannabis world.
Oh, GSC.
But you can buy your real Girl Scout cookies out there in front of the dispensaries all over the place now.
True story.
They've been allowed by the Girl Scouts of America to go ahead and set up shop, and I'm sure it's going well. So Johnny Mills, thanks for joining on Steam It. Give us a thumbs up. Have no idea what it means, but give us one. Why not? And share it and share and follow. So welcome everybody. I think it's actually making out on all those platforms. I'm so surprised. Listen, if you are watching on some obscure streaming platform, go over to Twitter, follow me or here on Steam It, wherever, but Twitter, really, throw the hashtag DC420LA on there and let us know where you're watching the show on so we know, because it's kind of hard to monitor all the different platforms. Chella's going to do her best. She hangs out in the YouTube chat. She's going to monitor in the YouTube chat.
Yes, and on
we got some new folks in there. Who's in the YouTube?
Today we've got Arachnid Soul.
All right.
It looks like it's Arachnid Soul and us.
And us. Well, no, Casey's in there. We had a new person, Casey.
Casey, but the cool Casey. Hi, Casey.
We are going out over the backup channel as well on YouTube.
Oh.
Because I noticed you might be in that one. Are you on backup or LA?
I think I'm in LA.
Yeah, this is LA. But the reason we have a backup channel is because we were put in YouTube jail for 3 months. So we had a backup, and there's still people subscribing to that backup channel. So take a look at what channel you're watching on. If it says backup, you're cool. But DC420LA, that's the main channel, and that's the chat we monitor up here. And we're going to work out on getting some of the other chats into the windows.
Yeah, it was in the backup channel.
Aha!
And Arachnid Soul is in the other channel too.
Well, tell them to move on over. Maybe I don't know. I know it's very confusing, folks. It's very confusing. But you never know what used to. We might end up just on Steam It at some point. The way the YouTube purge is real. I mean, this is really happening to a lot of stations, a lot of folks. And so who knows? So we may end up only on DLive. The decentralized what do you call it? Blockchain crypto platform. So I really don't know a lot about it, other than the fact that we are going out live and we've got a viewer in there right now. So welcome everybody on Steam It and whatever platform you're on to DC420LA, the Week in Weed. And we've had a couple of big stories this week. Big story today. Hey, breaking news, folks. Breaking news, and I think Jimmy Dore's covering it right now over on his channel. Competing with him a little bit, really. No, from our 6 people. But Dianne Feinstein
2 channels
has failed to get the endorsement of the California Democratic Party at the convention.
Yeah, that's kind of big news, but it's not our news.
Well, it is kind of our news.
Wait, you disabled the chat in the other room where Arachnid Soul was working?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
It looks like that just happened.
I didn't do anything about disabling a chat.
Oh, okay.
But there's definitely chat happening in the DC. There, you're in there. You're in there. I see you. Sorry about the confusion.
There you go. Hi, Arachnid Soul. I'm
Okay,
so glad.
made it over. Great.
And Diana Cherry, hi.
Oh, great. Fine. Okay,
well,
thanks, folks.
Jimmy Dore, we're not up against him. There's a whole other news. We're doing cannabis news only.
And let me tell you, good friends of the show
Love
over
Jimmy
there.
Dore.
Jimmy
Never
Dore.
compete with Jimmy.
And Ron, of course, Ron Placone is down there in San Diego with Jimmy for the convention, and I saw his tweet about the fact that Dianne did not get the endorsement, and that's pretty exciting news for progressives in the race. That, for all intents and purposes, is hers to lose, and this is just one little quiver in the arrow.
She's still way ahead of anybody else who's even thinking of competing.
And she'll probably win.
Yeah, but it's nice to make her work for it a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And there are a number of progressives in the race, in the primary.
Why are we talking about this?
Well, because next week we're going to be interviewing one of those progressives.
Yes, but
that's why we're talking about that. About cannabis. Well, listen, we'd like to believe that cannabis and marijuana law reform are the issues of this election and 2020.
We do believe that.
And part of that part of it, I think that is a couple of things. Not necessarily as non-endorsement, because I'm not sure where the California Democratic Party is officially on cannabis, but she's pretty much the last holdout. And we really need a representative in Washington that supports what the vast majority of the people of California believe on cannabis.
Yeah.
And Dianne Feinstein is not that candidate.
No.
She voted against Rohrabacher-Farr twice.
Yeah.
The amendments to keep the feds' grubby hands off of our medical marijuana. And she was vehemently against Prop 64 for all the wrong reasons.
Not for the right reasons, like we were.
She was against big marijuana, but it was for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So she is not the cannabis candidate. But we have a cannabis candidate.
Yes.
And thanks to Ron Placone and introducing us to Pat Harris on his show, Get Your News On with Ron, I reached out to Pat Harris and I made this announcement last week and invited him on our show. He said he could talk for 2 hours on the subject of cannabis.
So,
and it just so happens we have a 2-hour show on the subject of cannabis. So I reached out to Pat right after Ron's show last week, and they got back to me right away. And Pat got back and said, love to come on. We booked him. We confirmed him for next Sunday.
Yeah.
So U.S. Senate candidate Pat Harris, progressive Democrat, progressive Democrat Pat Harris, and self-proclaimed champion of cannabis will be on DC420LA, The Week in Weed, next Sunday at 4:20 Pacific or thereabouts. And we're going to talk about cannabis and how important he feels this is one of his top issues of getting elected, of the primary in California and in Washington when he gets there. So he's quite informed about the topic. So it should be an awesome interview. We're going to talk about some of the communities in California that are embracing cannabis, that want to bring cannabis to their town for the tax benefits as well as jobs, amazing job growth in cannabis. So very excited to have progressive Democrat and challenger to Dianne Feinstein next week, right here on DC420LA. And the link is already, the show is already set up.
And that's not
on the channel. So you can subscribe to that. So, and that is not all. Because as soon as I started putting it out there, it made a little bumper. And as soon as I started putting it out there, another progressive candidate, David Hildebrand, reached out and said he would love to talk about cannabis as well.
Super exciting.
So we are going to get David on the show booked in the coming weeks, maybe the following week or very soon. And we're going to get him on the record about cannabis. And we'll reach out to Allison as well.
Yeah.
You know, we'll get all the, and hey, if De Leon and Feinstein want to come on and talk about cannabis, they are more than welcome. This is our platform, mainstreaming marijuana, politics of pot, and just normalizing cannabis, recreating and medicating. So join us next week. You can get a notification for the show on the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Let us know where you're watching over on Twitter. Hashtag is DC420LA. We'll check into that. But we're going to start off before we get into the videos, before we get into the Kirsten Gillibrand on Good Day in New York and what's going on around the nation as well as around the states. Big news in the South. Some really compelling testimony about legalization in Kentucky. In Tennessee. There's a lot of action in the South this week. And but of course, we have a news segment we're going to do every week. And this is the news segment we call Where We Weed.
Where we weed.
Where we weed. And this week we went because we
shop local, guys.
We've been very social this weekend.
Crazy.
Went to a couple of great gatherings. One right here in our little tiny cabin up here on Mount Washington.
Yeah.
Which was a big party with just 5 of us.
Spontaneous party with 5 people.
And but so I didn't really have a chance to research a new dispensary, but we did find a really great one here last week in our neighborhood, which is a phenomenal dispensary. And of course, I'm talking about Cornerstone Collective. I think it's still called Collective. Over on Colorado in Eagle Rock, I think it's north. Is that north?
Yeah, the north side
of Eagle Rock Boulevard on Colorado, and near the Target there, across from the Target.
Eagle Rock Plaza.
Yeah, but very low profile. You'll see no green cross out in front of this place.
No sign. You got to know what it is, like a speakeasy.
Parking's not the best in front, but there's plenty of street parking usually. And they are extremely knowledgeable over there at Cornerstone. We were helped by Andreas today, and he had a great knowledge of all of the products and their attributes, as well as it's Nick at the front there in security, taking care of us up front. Tima, I think, and Tima. Meta.
And Meta.
Making sure that we're in the
legal
system,
and good to go.
Legal and good to go in the system. Of course, 21 and over in California for recreational, 18 years of age or older for medicinal if you have the proper recommendations. And get your state card. If you do, it's worth it if you use your medicine a lot because you'll save a lot in taxes.
Yeah.
Which adds up to about 35% to the recreational user out here in good old Los Angeles anyway.
Prop 64.
Prop 64 at work,
Oh,
tax
yeah.
dollars at work. It's going to be interesting to see how much comes in. But let's get on to where we weed and what our haul is today.
All right.
We like to spend, we like to see what 100 gets us at our collectives. We went a little over.
So this would be the 100.
Okay, so let's here, let me bring up the shot here. Let me rotate this. Oops. Yeah, there we go. Let me rotate this around a little bit. Here we go.
We had all this worked out. What happened?
Well, this thing rotated, but there you go. Okay, we're all set. So what do we got, Chell?
Well, today we have 3 items. Today we have 3 items from Cornerstone Dispensary.
Dispensary.
So we have a lovely sativa gram, Nina Limon. It's a very social strain.
This was what they're telling us.
Very chatty. I like that. I thought it'd be a good thing to have for our show today.
It's a gram of Nina Limon.
Nina Limon.
Which is a sativa.
It is a sativa.
It's a stimulating citrus-heavy cross of Super Lemon Haze and Rebel Godsmoke, according to Leafly. Oh, a very nice shot. Very
Thank you
nice.
very
Well
much.
done. Well done. Nice focus.
So the Nina Limon. Then we also have this pack of Chief. This is sort of my favorite thing to get at dispensaries because it's always been my fantasy to be able to walk into a shop and buy a pack of joints. And here we are, a pack of joints. And this Chief pack of Chief joints is strain specific. It's a sativa. Let me pull one out here. This one is Sour Diesel.
Nice.
And they are not very large joints. But here we go. Where's my camera there? I didn't get.
Oh, they're little
manicure.
guys. They're about half gram,
Yeah,
probably.
they're like half joints, really.
Yeah, they're a little couple of puffs out there in the parking lot. Of course, you don't want to smoke
Right.
cannabis in public.
So there's that, which we are about to spark up, and of
Okay,
course,
how many are in there? That's pretty good. That's a
we
pretty good
got
pack.
1, 2, 3, 4, 7 little joints.
And it's a half a gram or 3.5. That's like an eighth of weed.
An eighth
right?
of weed, yeah.
Great.
And that was 40.
Interesting.
And then these mints, which are fantastic.
Yeah, we had those last time.
I love these mints. They're great.
Now, a very interesting story that I learned about these mints this week. Today, from
We'll have a
Andreas.
mint after we smoke.
After we smoke, let's start.
Here,
why don't
you have one, and
I'm
I'll
gonna
have
tell.
one.
I'm gonna tell that. Oh, that's a good
Okay.
idea. But see, I had fire yours up.
Okay.
And just to catch up on some legal stuff here in California, I like this. This is great. That's awesome.
Nice. Smooth.
Little pack in there.
And just so you know, like Arachnid Soul, I know you like the indica, and we do have indica today. We can spark some of that up later. Today at Cornerstone, they were having a special of a quarter for the price of an eighth. So we got a quarter of Calder OG, which is an indica.
Which I can't seem to find on the strain. It's apparently it's a link connected to abusive OG, or it might have been called that. But it's an indica that has not a real strong body high. But of course, you know how I feel about the whole stoner science. So
Hey, Sammy!
I'm more of
Sammy's
a-
in the house.
Hey, Sammy. And Phil might show up too. Phil Britton, who also will be rebroadcasting us over pirate radio over there in Boulder Valley. 200 watts of power, 101.5,
Sammy on the mend.
I think. Sammy on the mend. Yes, hope
Sammy
you're
on
using
the
your
mend.
CBDs.
Yeah, I hope you're using your CBDs. Taking good care.
Taking good care.
Not
She's
eating any sugar.
very important player over there at ITSG, our home collective. This is quite nice, this joint.
It is. It's really nice. Yes, Diane
Very
Cherie,
smooth.
Cornerstone and Eagle Rock, right next to the flower shop.
Burning,
and there
burning
is
well.
a teeny parking lot. It's true. There are 3 parking spaces, and then the street parking.
But apparently,
I never have a problem with
I don't know.
parking.
Alex last night was saying Cornerstone is. He's a Cornerstone. He knew about Cornerstone. I don't know if he was just.
It's been here a long
the
time.
reference. It's been there a while. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Been there a long time. So
This is
long they
great.
take credit cards.
That's right. One of the few. MedMen is another one, but not a lot of these collectives have a bank that they can work with. So I think the ones that have been around the longest. Of course, that could change at any time. Now, with regards to these mints,
That's nice. I like that. This is a nice little joint.
these little mints here are 20 milligrams each. And am I understanding previously, of course, the laws here in California are all temporary. The regulations are proposed. Everything's could change, and some things have changed. Apparently, semantics. It's all in semantics. If you call this a capsule,
Well, not that thing.
Not this.
The actual mint
where's the
itself.
bottle?
No, the mint is a capsule.
Right. Well,
That's a capsule.
so they're calling it a capsule now, and because they're calling it a capsule, it can be larger than 10 milligrams in dosage, and you can have more than 100 milligrams in the serving. So in the packaging. So that's interesting about merely naming. Getting a little coffee there at the end of your joint. But I like these. I like these Chiefs. Very nice. Very nice. Cool. Well, we finish this one while we roll this. Finish this lovely Chief joint from Cornerstone Collective. We'll roll right into a video of our good friend, now good cannabis friend, up there in the great state of New York, Kirsten Gillibrand, U.S. Senator.
Yes, friend of cannabis.
Now a friend of cannabis.
New friend.
Outspoken. I think she might have been sort of in the closet.
I don't know.
Maybe not. But she's been very outspoken lately about cannabis. And last week, of course, we reported she is now co-sponsoring Cory Booker's Marijuana Justice Act in the Senate, which I think is just up. I'll double check during the video, but I think it still only has 2 co-sponsors.
Yeah, but she's really loud about it.
She's been very loud about it. And she was very loud on Good Morning New York last week. So
Let's hear.
let's play this clip from Good Morning New York while we finish this joint from Cornerstone Collective. Try the mint, the 20 milligram mint. You going to do a half or are you going to do a full? And then we'll talk about what she had to say on the back end as we look into our national stories here on DC420LA. Live Sundays, 4:20 Pacific. Subscribe to the channel, get notifications wherever you're watching. We're going out over a number of platforms, including on Steemit through DLive. You can find us on all of the social networking platforms at DC420LA. So just search for that and you can find us. So let's watch this video of Kirsten Gillibrand, U.S. Senator, currently holding Hillary Clinton's seat in New York, and up for re-election this year in 2018.
All right, let's move along.
Shift gears
Yes,
a little bit.
Because something you're very interested in is legalizing marijuana. Why are you open to something like that?
Because what I've seen is it's a criminal justice issue. In our city alone, one analysis said that if you are African American or Latina, you are 10 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana use than if you are a white person. And in fact, the use by all groups are the same. Nationally, you're 4 times more likely to be arrested. So it's a problem that it's not right. And for a lot of people, I particularly talk to people who need marijuana for a medical purpose, whether you're talking about veterans with PTSD or you're talking about glaucoma patients, cancer patients, MS patients. And then I've talked to a lot of parents whose kids have horrible seizure disorders. And if they could just get CBD oil, which is a derivative of marijuana, those seizures are reduced hugely. And so impeding patients from getting medicine is really disturbing. So I think because of the criminal justice issues, because of the medical marijuana issues, this should be a legal product. And if
you're
it's
working
legal,
with Cory Booker
yes,
as well, right?
Cory's been a leader on this from the very beginning. And I think if you can make it a legal product, then people can get what they need, and you would not have this overwhelmingly disproportionate negative impact on communities of color and poor communities.
Not to mention, this is something that the governor of New Jersey is also on his agenda. He's pushing for as well.
It makes sense.
Might you work with Governor Cuomo as well?
For sure. I mean, we've passed medical marijuana in our state, and I think if you got to full federal legalization, what you would be allowed then is all that medical marijuana would be allowed for, no matter where you are. Today, if you're a veteran and you want to go to the VA to get medical marijuana, you're prohibited from doing that, even if your state has already made medical marijuana legal. So I think on the federal level, you really need to say it is a legal drug that you can access if you need it.
But putting medical marijuana aside, I mean, many people are concerned that, you know, marijuana is a gateway drug, and we're in the middle of an opioid crisis right now, and I know you've spoken out about that. I mean, are you concerned with legalizing this, and in the meantime, we have a lot of young people dying right now from opioid
I don't
overdose.
see it as a gateway to opioids. What I see is the opioid industry and the drug companies that manufacture it, some of them in particular, are just trying to sell more drugs that addict patients and addict people across this country. And when we had a hearing on medical marijuana, the person that testified against it was from the opioid industry, because to them it's competition for chronic pain. And that's outrageous, because we don't have the crisis in people who take marijuana for chronic pain having overdose issues. It's not the same thing, and it's not as highly addictive as opioids are. So I think medical marijuana could be treatment for a lot of folks. A lot of veterans have told us that this is the best treatment for them. And so I do not see it as a gateway drug. I see the criminal justice implications being so burdensome to our communities that I think it should be legalized. I really think we have to decriminalize.
Well, thank you for
What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? DC here. Be sure to join us for a very special edition of DC420 The Week in Weed. On Sunday, March 4th, we'll be joined by U.S. Senate candidate Pat Harris. Progressive Democrat and self-proclaimed champion of cannabis, Pat is one of the many challengers to notorious anti-pot Dianne Feinstein for her California Senate seat in the June primary. In a recent interview, Pat said he could talk for a couple of hours on the subject of cannabis, and we are giving him the opportunity to do just that on Sunday, March 4th at 4:20 Pacific, right here on DC420LA. Subscribe to the channel and get notifications for when we go live. See you on Sunday. Pot for peace.
With all the time and money spent on campaigns like Just Say No and Dare, you think drugs and politics just don't mix. But while teens were cooking eggs on TV to show you what your brain looks like on drugs, governments have been dosing citizens and soldiers for a while already. The history of substances for social and political engineering goes way back, but in the modern era, it starts in the late 1800s with the discovery of amphetamines. By the time the world wars came around, hundreds of thousands of pills were being handed out to soldiers on the battlefield. In Nazi Germany, in just a 3-month period in 1940, over 35 million doses of methamphetamine called Pervitin were handed out to the army. And it wasn't just Nazi speed fiends fighting sober heroes. The Allied forces were routinely given amphetamines to keep them fighting, especially pilots who had to fly overnight missions. In case you're wondering what kind of backward society would give drugs to their citizens to keep them fighting, well, ours. Like right now. Soldiers in places like Iraq have been popping pills since the first Gulf War, and drugs have gotten way stronger over time. And there's evidence that drugs were engineered to hit the streets from the top down too. As soon as Nixon's domestic policy chief told a journalist on record in 1994 they had two enemies, the anti-war left and the black people. That's right, John L. Richmond, a member of Nixon's cabinet, plainly unveiled that they got the public to associate hippies with marijuana and black people with heroin. Those in power knew They could criminalize both heavily, disrupt their meetings, arrest their leaders, raid their homes, vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about drugs? Of course we did. This is an actual quote from the founding father of the war on drugs. As agents of the CIA fed the crack epidemic of the 80s by funneling drugs to dealers like Freeway Rick Ross, laws began to target certain segments of the population. Crack was vilified the same way cannabis was made a monster by films like Reefer Madness. The engineering was confirmed in 1986 when Congress passed the Anti-Drug Abuse Act, punishing crack cocaine trafficking 100 times worse than powder cocaine, despite the fact that they were the same drug. It took 50 years to admit to misinforming the public as they gain ground on our minds and communities. Will they continue wizarding such lies as legalization grows in popularity?
Yeah, he said wizarding such lies.
Wizarding.
That, of course, are our good friends over at Herb Magazine. They're putting out a PSA every week now.
I love it.
And that was a really good one, very informative.
Totally good one.
About what we're up against in this drug war.
I hate that they did all that. It really gets me angry.
Well, we're gonna hear some testimony out of Kentucky, sucking on this mint. Sorry, guys,
We're having your mint.
I'm having my mint. I have finished our chief joint, and now I'm having.
Oh, all right. I'll try a whole mint.
Okay.
Give it to me. I might be sleeping.
And
I might be sleeping.
And
by the end of the
you also
thing.
saw that bumper, folks. We are indeed having Pat Harris on the show next week to talk about cannabis. U.S. Senate candidate challenging Dianne Feinstein in the June primary, and we promise we won't smoke on camera or ask any of the people we interview running for federal office to partake.
They've broken federal crimes
in California state law, and technically being a revolutionary in this day and age. So we welcome them, and we will make it. That's the first thing we thought when he said yes, and then David said, "I want on too," and we thought, have they seen our show? We do consume at the beginning. It's part of our our panache, if you will.
It's part of our normalizing cannabis.
That's right. That you can actually, for the most part, talk about issues and politics and things while getting high.
But you can still talk and chat. I wouldn't go driving. This is not a pot and driving show.
No, it is not a pot and driving show. It's this is more like Joe and Mika meet Dank and Dabby.
Yeah.
So that's the way we're billing ourselves. And I welcome my Dabby, Coach Cella.
Thanks,
and
babe.
We've enjoyed a Breeze Mint, 20 milligram, and a Chief Joint. Very nice. We'll have a bowl of that tasty bud later.
Yes.
That was a PSA from Herb Magazine. Just Being Blunt is this campaign that they're doing every week. Political engineering and the history of the drug war.
Yeah.
So we thank the folks over there at Herb Magazine.
It's
and
good to
Kirsten
look at that
Gillibrand,
stuff.
What do you think about what she said on News Good Morning New York?
I'm sorry, I just want to catch up with your herb thing. It's good to look at that stuff, especially, this month, with being Black History Month and all. It's important to see what we've done to other people.
Well, absolutely. And it is February.
Kirsten Gillibrand wanting to, support Cory Booker's bill has a serious criminal justice aspect to address the failed drug war and the disproportionate impact it's had on people of color.
No argument there. And that is Cory Booker's bill is the most sweeping marijuana legislation that's ever been introduced.
Yeah. And I don't like him,
I question his motives.
I do. That's what I mean. I shouldn't say I don't like him. He might be just a fine fellow.
I'm sure he is.
But I question his
motives. He was a little goofy on his Facebook stream with Kirsten when announcing this co-sponsorship. But I think this will be
sounds good.
maybe one of probably the top 3 issues of these elections coming up are going to be guns. Have they moved up the list? Probably will continue to move up.
Mm-hmm.
Immigration, DACA, and that's going to be up there. And I think cannabis law reform.
Yes.
is going to be very prominent in the next 2 elections. A lot of people are saying it, and we're seeing evidence of that in co-sponsorship by Kirsten Gillibrand, who is, denying she's going to run for president because she's running for re-election this year in New York. So New York is getting close to legalization. New Jersey is closer, but New York is doing a study. So, but New Jersey is going to be legal by probably, very soon, unless something kiboshes that one. But Murphy ran on it, so I don't see that happening. So I love it. I think it's great she's out there, Arachnid Soul. I agree with you.
Yep.
It's great that she's out there doing this. But let's see what else she addresses. Let's see what else she gets on. We're gonna talk to Pat about other things too. We're gonna talk about universal health care. We're gonna talk about social justice. It's going to be primarily cannabis, but we'll throw in some other questions, progressive questions too.
Yeah, if anybody has questions that you want us to ask,
absolutely.
The candidate.
So you can either leave them in a comment in the chat or in on the page, the video,
or
once
tweet
it's done,
it to Dave,
or send us an email, DC420LA@gmail. If you've got a question for Pat Harris next week on cannabis or the election in general, primarying Dianne Feinstein, he's one of the progressives. Let me know. Send it to me somehow. Hashtag DC420LA on Twitter or on Facebook. We'll do it that way, and I'll look for that. And I just want to give a shout out to some folks in DLive, because we are going out on Steam It through DLive, and we've got, of course, Johnny Mills was in there, and Jim Mylan, and he says, "What's up? Nice to see you here," and a couple of comments, and I just went over there to check, because I have no idea what Steam It is. So I just went over there to see, what's going on. I looked at my post on Steam It, and apparently we've earned some steam.
Steam, huh? We got steam.
Yeah, we've got some steam.
We got some steam behind us.
I'm not exactly sure what that means.
Hey, we got steam, man.
But this is the Steam It blog, and it says we've got, this is from today, we've got $42.63 in Steam.
Wow, it'd be so cool if it was real money.
Well, it's cryptocurrency.
Okay, do any hotels take it? Because
I got no clue. I got to be honest.
We got some traveling.
I got no clue. But it was free to set up an account and get the message out, and we've been hearing about it for so long, and I'm quite pleased. I'm quite pleased with the folks in the chat room, and $42 worth of Steam so far. That's so adorable. I don't know if that can get you a gram of anything, but that'd be awesome. Maybe we can figure out a way to use Steam to finance our weed every week.
Haul, yeah, or where we weed,
because it's getting pricey every week.
Yeah, it's no longer $100 haul.
Because we can't monetize anything on YouTube, because as soon as they hear the word, see the word, or anything about cannabis or marijuana,
weed, pot,
forget it.
Forget it.
And but if I play a news video from ABC TV under fair use for education and commentary, I get popped. They're not popped, but they put a copyright on it, and then they will monetize the video. So you can watch an old episode of DC420 The Week in Weed on YouTube, and you'll see that it's monetized for some reason. That's because ABC has monetized my weed video, but I can't monetize it when I do it. So it's a hypocrisy. It's ridiculous. So
it's for the corporations, private
Steam.
Corporations.
Awesome. Welcome, DLive. Give me some more comments in there. I'll bring them up, and I'm figuring out how to get. I had it last week, but DLive Labs is not working today, and that's why I don't have the chat up. But I'll get the chat up there in the broadcast. So this is fun. I'm having a great time. We're going over a lot of platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitter. So whatever your preference is, there's a whole bunch of other little ones are going out. Whatever you're watching DC420 on, hashtag DC420LA in Twitter, and let us know where you're watching your streaming video and the show this week. And thanks everybody for watching. So Kirsten Gillibrand is on the trail for cannabis.
I love it because she looks so normal. She is somebody who does say that she was never for cannabis before, but her constituents changed her mind.
That's right.
So tell your elected reps that you use cannabis and why you use it. Send them postcards. Let them know.
Come out of the green closet. Yeah. We saw a story this week that popped up at the end of the week here about how there's been a lot of stories in the news about employers, whether they don't want their people smoking weed, they're going to drug test. Wisconsin is now moving on a bill that would make it illegal to test for THC, make an employer illegal to test for THC.
Wow, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
I'm sure there'll be restrictions for driving.
Sure, but that's fine.
But
that'd be great
jobs,
if
they're using it medicinally, it shouldn't be stigmatized, which is the argument for that.
Yeah.
Somebody said on my Twitter, well, I don't want a school bus driver, smoking weed and driving around. Well, I don't either. I also don't want a guy on Oxycontin and Vicodin driving around either. So I'd rather have them smoking weed, quite frankly. But that's another, we could argue, we could debate that. But, of course, Hollywood is the place where, for the most part, it's pretty much okay.
Oh, yeah. Nobody's ever fussed at me about cannabis.
Yeah, it's...
Although, if I do talk about it, you are a little bit ostracized. But we never get drug tested. The drivers get drug tested.
Right. The drivers get drug tested.
Nobody else gets drug tested.
No, never has any... I don't think anybody... I think there's one person can
Nobody really wants anybody smoking weed at work.
Well, they're reading this article. I was quoting a showrunner. It's like, hey, if the writers want to, when they're on their break, go vape and get creative. Come on back. That's great. So, it's embraced above the line.
Yeah.
It's embraced
Maybe that's why they have so many problems with the Me Too situation, because they're all fucked up. And they don't know right from wrong.
Are you saying getting high makes you a sexual predator?
No.
I think it's had to do more with blood alcohol.
I think sexual predators might maybe have less inhibitions.
Well, it's a character thing. It comes down to the character. It's like you're going to smoke weed and get couch locked. You're going to smoke weed and paint a picture, or make music, or do a TV show.
Right, do a show.
Do a commentary on, on
the mainstream,
blunt commentary news of a higher nature. So Hollywood, weed friendly for the most part out here. So that's good for us. Good for us here. This is our main source of income. And there's a new movie coming out.
Yeah.
Called Gringo.
No heavy machines.
It's called Gringo?
Yes, Gringo.
About corporate cannabis?
Yes, a corporate cannabis coup.
Good news for our screenplay.
Yes.
That means folks might be interested.
Cannabis is a big deal. Yes, we need to rewrite it with all those notes. Okay, on to the next story. This is,
sticking in the national block here, we're going to talk about marijuana job growth. It's actually quite impressive. We are outpacing tech. We are outpacing healthcare.
Awesome.
And there are already more cannabis jobs in the United States than there are dental hygienists.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Roll that beautiful bead
Roll
footage.
that beautiful bud footage. Here we go. Yeah, it's all bud B-roll. I love it.
The legal weed industry is among the fastest growing in the United States, according to a Marijuana Business Daily report. The report released last year called for a 45% growth in U.S. legal pot sales in 2018. The increase in sales is partly because recreational weed is now legal in California. A poll from Quinnipiac University showed that 94% of Americans want to legalize medicinal cannabis, with only 4% opposing it. USA Today reports that according to BDS Analytics, last year the marijuana industry accounted for $9 billion in sales and employed 121,000 people. And by 2021, the company estimates that almost 300,000 people will be working in the cannabis industry. All this while marijuana is still a Schedule I substance under federal law, which means it is illegal, deemed to have no medicinal benefits, and prone to abuse. Currently, there are laws that ensure the Department of Justice can't use federal dollars to prosecute medicinal marijuana businesses in legal states. However, Attorney General Jeff Sessions is waging war on the pot industry, trying to take away laws that protect the cannabis industry.
Our nation's veterans are picking up the fight against the absurd war on drugs. Now, of course, it's no secret many returning vets suffer from PTSD and chronic physical pain, and a lot of them say marijuana has helped them heal. However, the White House and the Department of Veterans Affairs continuing to deny any official studies of the benefits of marijuana for PTSD and other conditions. Now, under federal law, marijuana is classified in the same category as heroin, creating an ongoing obstacle for those looking to obtain medical cannabis. So what will it take for the government to let those who fought for our country find some peace and relief as well. The Man panel is back. Guy Benson, Joe Concha, and Cabot Phillips. Cabot, I will start with you. Marijuana should be rescheduled, so if nothing else, even if it doesn't offer some relief to people who want it, they should at least study it. So if it's the worst thing in the world, let more scientists figure that out through responsible means.
I certainly think most Americans would agree that it's never bad to get more information gathered on any topic, especially a topic as important as this concerning our veterans. I think there's an argument still to be made by both sides that we're seeing. We see the more traditional conservative side of rule of law saying, you know,
then change the law.
It's saying we don't want the states to have,
stupid.
yeah, I think the people of that, you know, belief would want to see the federal law change, lobbying Congress, not having states making their own decisions until the federal law happens.
God forbid
until
that
we see
federalism.
federalism, exactly. It is a conflicting side there, but I do think there's also a lot of Americans who are able to look at this from the standpoint of these are our vets. If they're saying this helps them, I think it's time to at least have some studies.
You don't see people taking their own life and overdosing because of a cannabis crisis.
Right.
You see that with an opioid crisis. So these vets who come back, who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan and in other places, who have mental and physical afflictions, what are they prescribed? Antidepressants and opioids, which only exacerbate existing psychological and physical problems.
And my wife is an ER doctor, and she's a fairly, I'm not going to say she's a conservative, she's more of a libertarian. You'd get along with her pretty well.
Nice. Good choice, Joe.
Gallup, thank you. Looks like Courtney Cox, too, but the friend Courtney Cox, I'm very happy with, yeah. Gallup has been polling on this topic for 50 years, and for the first time in October, 51% of Republicans, a majority, support legalizing marijuana. Just not just medical marijuana, but just for personal use as well. The number, when you put it together, is about 2/3 of Americans support this. In terms of what you just said, exactly. You prescribe opioids, it becomes addictive. If you give them medical marijuana because it at least soothes their pain in some way, shape, or form, that's not going to have any side effects. This seems like a no-brainer, but you have an attorney general that's not going to agree with you on that, Kennedy.
Last
no,
one,
you
Guy
don't.
Benson.
This is a hardline position from the administration. I don't think it's logically defensible on a policy level. I can see some concerns about whether opening this up could be abused in certain ways and trying to guard against that, but at least studying the damn thing and following the science, which we should believe in as conservatives, there's no defense.
All right, very good. You guys, thank you so much for being here. Cabot, Joe, and Guy Benson.
Thanks.
Lovely. All right, coming up, the U.S. is
Mox News. That from Mox News. Those guys pick up some good stuff. We have some sanity there from Kennedy.
Wow.
Every once in a while, it's like Trump. Every once in a while, the clock is right, and they picked up on how crazy the law is. Kennedy. What are you laughing about?
Just, you know, I'm sharing around the show to the groups and the places.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to think of alternate new places to share it. And I'm like, well, you know, we just got some stuff from our Eagle Rock dispensary, Cornerstone.
Which? And
I thought I'd share it to the Eagle Rock group. And lo and behold, I did. And one of my workmates liked my post. And I thought that was funny because
You've outed yourself.
I don't really share this part of myself with my workmates.
You've outed yourself.
Here I am. Hi, Chris.
And speaking of which,
if you're watching,
I just loaded a bowl of, what is this? This little gram of
that is a gram of Nina Limon. Nina Limon. A social sativa.
Well, let's
I'm excited
get
about it.
social.
It smells really, really good.
So that was Fox has had a couple of positive cannabis stories. Of course, they got their libertarian bent over there.
Yeah, Fox is crazy town.
And should veterans have access? Do you think? Change the law, Kennedy says.
Yes, change the law. Well, Kennedy is, you know.
And that, of course, is the topic of the subject of the federal cannabis lawsuit that we've been reporting on in New York City, which did not, as of Friday, Chella, correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't see anything. I've been watching Alexis' Twitter feed.
Nothing new.
She said no answer yet. It's been a week now.
New.
We didn't know when this decision is going to come down.
Could be any time.
Could be any time, but basically it's the U.S. government is trying to have the case dismissed.
Yeah.
The plaintiffs, 4 of them, are arguing that cannabis in the Schedule I is unconstitutional and should be removed. Based on their arguments, which are very compelling, so much so that the judge in the case essentially already agreed with their main argument and therefore disagreeing with the government's main argument and telling them not to say that cannabis is not a medicine, because obviously it is.
Yeah, stop saying that.
Stop saying that, yeah. So that's good news, but there's no decision as to whether to dismiss or continue to hear the case. And if he continues to hear the case, then we have a case to get cannabis out of, not only off of Schedule 1, but out of the Controlled Substances Act, descheduled, which has huge implications outside of any legislation that's going on in states or on a federal level. Yes?
Yes.
Can take over while I light this bowl.
Okay, light that bowl. Casey Dabbins is saying that, yes, the same folks who created meth and Agent Orange and DDT and weed killers say cannabis is harmful. That's exactly right. You know, governments lie.
Government's law. Yeah, they created...
Oh, there's a Southern Oregon Harvest Facebook group. I should share our show too.
Absolutely. Share the show. If you've got a group you think folks... We're in Facebook. We're going out over Facebook right now. DC420LA.
Ooh, that is tasty.
It is delicious, isn't it?
Nina Limon.
Go to that page. Share it to your Facebook groups. They can watch it there. I keep checking to see if anybody's jumping in and making a comment. You may leave a comment in Facebook if you're there. Twitter, any other. We're going out over Twitch. Stream Me, YouNow, Smashcast, Ustream, and
now
D-Live.
you're just making shit up, aren't you?
No, I'm not. These are all places. And it turns out we have actually more viewers in D-Live than we do in YouTube.
That's amazing.
So, hey, D-Live, welcome to DC420LA, the Week in Weed. We do this every Sunday at 4:20. And we talk about marijuana in the mainstream media, the politics of pot, and cannabis cures. And next week, we're talking to an actual U.S. Senate candidate running against Dianne Feinstein here in California, and we're going to spark up a bowl with him. Or maybe not. We are going to talk about cannabis, California, and the U.S. and how it should be decriminalized, and it should be the number one issue. It's his number one issue. Number one issue is getting rid of Dianne Feinstein. His number two issue is cannabis. So I'm on board both of those.
Totally.
And we're going to talk about probably some other progressive stuff. This is a delicious bowl of Nina Limon. Let's move. Speaking of veterans and the case in New York City, came across this, I believe this is an AP video that does a little highlighting of one of the plaintiffs in that case. There are 4 plaintiffs in the federal cannabis lawsuit, which is the hashtag in New York City. One is, of course, Alexis Bortel, the 12-year-old originally from Texas, now living as a medical refugee in Colorado, can't attend the trial because she can't travel with her medicine, which is part of her argument, and can't go back to visit her grandparents in Texas. So we've been following Alexis here on this channel, and you can catch videos of her on previous shows about her. And Yeager, another young man, also who's being treated with cannabis. And Marvin Washington, former NFL player, is part of the lawsuit, and a veteran by the name of Jose Balan. And we came across this video this week about his struggle and also why he's involved in this lawsuit. So let's take a look at that. While we got Nina Simone. Nina Simone. That's Nina Limon. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you very much for that. Cornerstone Collective. Here we go. In Eagle Rock.
You know, cannabis has been the one thing that has stepped in, and that's why, for me, this lawsuit is so important. We lose 22 veterans a day to suicide, and a large part of that is because we don't have the right to choose our medicine. I'm an entrepreneur.
So you're working full-time with Mission Zero?
Oh, that's always... I fought for every single American on this, on this land in Iraq. I would have died for everyone without knowing their names. I went to Iraq to free the oppressed, and I view this no different. The oppression is only being done by our own government. Whatever I have to sacrifice, I've openly asked my attorneys to put me in front of Jeff Sessions.
Necessary to do something about it. And you have how many kids? 2.
I watched a 7-year-old girl die in front of me that was a casualty that we inflicted with that, you know, being there with the closing of her eyes, that's something you don't ever forget. You know, I have a daughter who to me resembles her. So on a daily basis, even for a second, I'm triggered from that. If I see a little girl who resembles, I'll go right back to that moment. And that weighs a lot, you know, and, you know, take that, multiply it by 10 other things throughout the day, a loud boom, you know, for whatever reason, I become, you know, upset, you know, intrusive thought. It's just this myriad of having to contain each and every emotion. That's what we do.
Yeah, so through our personal journey.
You know, when you go to combat, I'm a field artillery soldier, so for us, we have one job, to kill the enemy, you know, and so me being a man of integrity, and I meant every word of my enlistment, you can imagine how I fought there. So with that, you unlock a certain part. It's a primal instinct. You know, you put a lion, you know, you're in the jungle and you take him out, you bring him back here, what's going to happen? You know, so it's also fighting that fight or flight, all that adrenaline. And it's very difficult because obviously here, there's no use for that. You know, so it's torment. It's torment. Steps right there. I was in a fierce fight, just saying, you know, these pills are going to kill me at some point, or without the pills, I'll just maybe end up killing myself because I can't, you know. And the issue is, cannabis for me helped. Okay, as soon as I came home, I did use cannabis as a teenager. Okay, so coming home, I wasn't afraid. Once I did use cannabis again, immediately I felt the relief. Unfortunately, being born in Manhattan, raised in New York, they throw the book at you, you know, if you get caught. So I ran the risk of ruining my entire military career, my entire name. I have no record because I'm using the medicine that actually helps me.
Jeff Sessions has come out and said that marijuana is causing the opioid epidemic. All the science says just the opposite. But Jeff Sessions says, no, I don't have any studies, but I can tell you that what's happened here is the opioid crisis is being caused by marijuana. What's your take?
Yeah, I think Sessions actually was quoted as saying that marijuana fuels the opiate epidemic when the science is directly the opposite. And what I loved, it was there's a 2016 Journal of Pain, which is an industry journal. So it's not, we're not talking about a left-leaning organization. Journal of Pain found that marijuana use was associated with a 64% reduction in opiate use among patients with chronic pain because marijuana can be used to decrease chronic pain rather than taken with opiates without the long-term addictive nature of opiates. Sessions has got it all backwards.
What is this about? I mean, first of all, you've got all these states that have they voted it. I mean, the votes have been overwhelming. I think in Florida it was 70% to be able to use
a lot of people,
medical
the reason
marijuana.
why it's passing a lot, not just recreational use, but medicinal use of marijuana that reduces chronic pain. We mentioned earlier the opiates used for chronic pain with cancer. So a lot of nausea. Right. Well, one of the effects of positive effects of marijuana in a medicinal use is it reduces nausea associated with cancer patients. So instead of popping a highly addictive opiate, you can smoke marijuana. It's a great, actually in the states that have legalized marijuana, they have less of an opiate problem than the states without it.
Interesting. And
you think Sessions would know that before he pops up?
Sessions
Absolutely.
is making stuff up as he goes.
Yep. That was Mike Pompeo, America's lawyer, Ring of Fire show this week, talking about Jeff Sessions and his obsession and lack of knowledge on the subject of what the problem is with opioids and its relationship to cannabis, which more and more those studies are correct. And now what was that? A earlier video just came to me back. 94% in the country want medical marijuana.
Yeah.
94% of Americans, they can't get 94% of Americans to agree on anything, really.
No.
So
that's why I'm saying you should always be honest and upfront about come out of the green closet. You know, that's why I feel like why doesn't Pat have like anything about cannabis on his bus? Why isn't it out there? part of his platform.
Exactly. Nothing on
It's
his butts.
it's on the website, and he's super proud of it there, and he'll talk about it like this, but there's no like little pot leaf or anything.
And we
does he think it's gonna?
He's upfront about it with producers about, hey, I'd love to talk about this topic, kind of a thing, right? I mean, he's very out on it.
Totally.
So that's a very interesting.
Maybe because it's still too stigmatized. Here, babe.
We are stigmatized.
It's true.
We were talking about this the other one. Why don't you run for office? Pot smoker. Atheist, vegetarian, pot smoker. Not going to happen. No one going to unless I have my own town. Which possible. Maybe Adelanto. I'll go run for mayor of Adelanto. We're going to talk about that town. The Silicon Valley of cannabis.
Where is it? Is it far from Hollywood? Would it be a long drive?
Oh, yeah. It's, it's out there near California City, I think. Or it's out there in the boonies.
That's far. So I'd see you on the weekend.
Yeah, pretty much. But I'd give it up. I'd sacrifice that for cannabis.
But then you'd sacrifice us?
No. Oh, no. The commute.
Yeah, the commute.
But okay, let's pull it. So let's in our last video, our national block. This is in sports, cannabis and sports.
Oh, I love seeing these sports stories.
This isn't really a
so many people are into sports.
But it is a story. It's a story about medical marijuana and the NBA.
And it's on ESPN.
It's on ESPN. That's right.
That's super mainstream.
Super mainstream.
Love.
And of course, we've talked about football, the NFL, the Gridiron Coalition. For cannabis here on the show. And, of course, Marvin Washington, one of the plaintiffs in the federal cannabis lawsuit. Former, I think he's a Bronco. I think it was a Bronco, but I saw another team too, so I'm not sure which, maybe both. But let's see this video. That's ESPN. This is Jalen Rose and David Jacoby debate medical marijuana in the NBA. I have no idea who these people are. I don't watch sports.
No, but it's cool that it's in the super mainstreamy.
Super mainstream.
That's cool.
And
That's
there's some good old reefer madness in it as well.
Yeah. There's mainstreamy.
Yeah.
Yep, medicinal. The NBA PA Executive Director Michelle Roberts was asked about marijuana and how it's being legalized state to state, and would it be legalized in the league. She was asked if it currently was, and here was her answer. No, it does not exist now. We're exploring it. I think there is some movement toward accepting it as an appropriate use to address pain, but we're not there yet. Jalen, this isn't as simple as it sounds on paper. Do you support them lifting the ban of medicinal use of marijuana in the NBA?
Ultimately, I support it because if the states are legalizing it and found a way to regulate it, then you can't, as a private entity, try to punish for it. And again, we only talk about this with NBA, NFL players. We don't talk about this in other major metropolitan sports because they truly don't punish their athletes for marijuana, and they discipline them in a way to where we know it, and it becomes a stain on their reputation.
Here's my problem with this. I do not support the use of medical marijuana in the NBA, and here's why. I don't think they will actually use it as medicinal reasons. I think what the NBA players would do is use this as a loophole to use it recreationally, much like the people in all of the states that have legalized medicinal marijuana already have. Can't you see that? Like, do you really think that they're going to use it to address pain, or they're going to use it to, I don't know, get high?
But it's not for you to police or regulate, because you can say the exact same thing for alcohol. And there will be those that say, well, players can show up at the game high, where players can show up at the game drunk too. At some point, you have to give a responsibility to the individual. However, I do agree with you on this point. There are so many people walking around with medicinal marijuana cards. I got a sore shoulder.
I have trouble going to sleep.
Knee.
I have trouble. I'm not hungry enough. I'm too hungry. Like, it seems like you can just make up anything and get one of those cards, and that's exactly what NBA players would do.
That does take place, and I also want to say this because it's really important. People smoke weed to get high.
Yes.
Okay, let's just put that out on the table.
I don't see a lot of cannabinoids on the streets.
No, now there are those that have found responsible ways to use it for pain. In lotions, in creams, it does exist, and the effects have been seen as being positive, which I support. But lastly, I don't think because it's legal, the NBA shouldn't punish NBA players for posing with it irresponsibly. And here's what I mean. Because it's legal in the NBA, I don't want to see my favorite player on his Instagram now smoking weed.
Exactly.
Or not behaving like a role model should.
And you can see that with alcohol. I think that NBA players drink alcohol. They drink alcohol on social media and all that. And if you could start going down this road, I think it could be kind of slippery when in terms of their influence over younger people.
What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? DC here. Be sure to join us for a very special edition of DC420 The Week in Weed. On Sunday, March 4th, we'll be joined by U.S. Senate candidate Pat Harris. Progressive Democrat and self-proclaimed champion of cannabis, Pat is one of the many challengers to notorious anti-pot Dianne Feinstein for her California Senate seat in the June primary. In a recent interview, Pat said he could talk for a couple of hours on the subject of cannabis, and we are giving him the opportunity to do just that on Sunday, March 4th at 4:20 Pacific, right here on DC420LA. Subscribe to the channel and get notifications for when we go live. See you on Sunday. Pot for peace. Who is that guy? He's got a really good voice.
He does. He repeats himself a lot, though. Same notice over and over.
What do you mean? That's called branding.
Hey, we're
What's
chatting.
up, Reefer Revolutionaries? It's called branding.
We're chatting.
Pot for peace.
We're chatting in the chat.
Yes, I'm enjoying a second bowl of Nina Simone.
Nina
Limone. But did we know?
It's Nina
we did
Simone's
not know.
Birthday today, guys.
We're completely out of the Nina Simone loop.
85.
But she would have been 85 today, so a bowl of Nina Limone for Nina Simone.
Here's to her. But in the chat, we're having a chat that, like, who gives a fuck if people just want to use it to get high?
Well, we saw a video that, the lawmaker said, how much recreation do you really need?
As much as I want.
Yeah, how about that? How about as much as I want?
How about if I'm not high, I'll be in the fucking street with pitchforks. Go fuck yourself. Shut the fuck up.
You don't want me not getting high.
Oh my God. And who's saying, like we were talking earlier about medicating versus recreating,
right,
and what recreating is and what medicating is. And if you feel better being high, maybe you're actually medicating something that you don't really realize that you're medicating until you're high and you feel better.
This was because earlier today, I was high. I was really high. And I was like, I really like being high. I like this state of being high. It's because we've been having this conversation about whether or not, when you're drunk, it's different. They have this, you're going to go out and get high. Those NBA players, they want to get high. They just want to get high. You know what? It's not like you're you go out and getting hammered this weekend. You going out and getting hammered this weekend? Because, you're saying how at work you get, people who know you smoke, they make jokes about it, right?
Yeah. If people know that you smoke, and even on the crew side of Hollywood, if they know that you smoke, they will make shots and take shots at you for being a stoner or someone who smokes.
Right.
Like, there are people at work who know that I use cannabis, but they don't know really quite how much I use cannabis. Of course, now somebody might know how much I use
on Facebook now,
because he's in my neighborhood group. So hi. Anyway, but it's Sunday, whatever. Anyway, what I was saying.
Meanwhile, I'm just gonna Boo Boo and Oscar chilling in the
background.
Oh my God,
they're so cute, aren't they?
But you get made fun of at work, and then
you totally get made fun of.
But it's like, what are you doing this weekend? Are you gonna get hammered? What are you taking home tonight? 12-pack?
I'm having a drink.
Case?
Oh yeah, this special whiskey.
What event? What sporting event are you getting hammered to this weekend?
So they can drink beer the whole time that they're golfing, and it's like, well, okay, that's cool. I love walking and getting high. I do. I get that, but don't, belittle me for using cannabis when you use other things yourself.
Damn Skippy.
Shut the fuck up.
Shut
as
the
I like
fuck
to say.
up.
I'm thinking about getting a tattoo, you guys. My first tattoo. I'm thinking of getting a tattoo on this finger that says STFU. What do you think?
It's not very positive, Coach Cella.
I'm a woman of a certain age. What do you think? Yay or nay?
All right. Well, we'll do a poll, but let us know in the chat. We are in the chat, folks. We are on We've got folks on D Live. We know about DTube. DTube is also the Bitcoin, or rather the Steam It connected video, like YouTube, where you can upload videos. And D Live is the live streaming and part of it. You can also upload videos to D Live. So I haven't uploaded very many to DTube yet. Probably will, because, YouTube can eliminate your channel in a heartbeat. They can just get rid of it, and then all of your stuff is gone. So that's
be
one
a bummer
problem.
if all
And,
this stuff was gone.
Technically, the reason they won't let me monetize anything is because it's illegal activity on a federal level. So this is a medical and recreational cannabis show originating in California. You should be 21 years of age or older.
Everyone I know in the chat is definitely over 21.
18.
Hi, Diana. Hi, Sammy.
And that was Arachnid Soul that asked me about. Oh no, she said you mentioned Mixer. Yeah, I saw Mixer in my OBS drop down and looked into that. Another streaming service.
Yeah, right.
So I'll look more into that. Most of these are, gaming streaming services. So we're trying to breach some territory here by reaching into that demographic and trying to educate and inform people about what's going on here in California, Los Angeles, and across the nation, with regards to the politics of pot, marijuana on the mainstream media, and cannabis cures. And we do this every Sunday at 4:20 Pacific. So subscribe and get notifications to YouTube and on whatever platform you're on. You're looking for at DC420LA.
Okay.
Across all of them. So look for
Because
that.
I ask all the time, at DC420LA.
At DC420LA.
Got
It's
it,
on
all of
everything. Twitter, Facebook,
Instagram with the pets.
With
You'll
the pets.
see them a
Oscar
lot.
goes on the Instagram. And now, of course, on Steam It and D Live, where I've earned some steam already, whatever
Yay,
that is.
Steam. You know what? Even if the players are playing high, whatever. They know what they're doing.
Basketball's great playing high. I
They're
don't know
not
how to play
operating
basketball.
heavy
Golf
machinery.
is great playing high. I'll tell you that.
I don't think I can make a bong out of a
working out's
pitchfork,
great.
but it could be used, I think, as a very large roach clip.
Make a bong out of a mango.
Yeah, you could. And Arachnid Soul, yes, I know. Right. It definitely elevates depressed feelings, cannabis. It definitely does.
Exactly.
You
Saying
know?
I'm depressed? Is that what you're
No,
saying?
Arachnid Soul was saying they were depressed.
I'm definitely not depressed.
Feeling a little
We
depressed.
have a great life up here in the hippie enclave.
Well, just because you have a great
High
life
atop
doesn't mean
Mount
one might
Washington.
not be depressed. One might still be depressed even if they have a great life.
Okay, so I want to move into the South because that pretty much wraps up our national coverage
Okay, great. The South.
of what's going on.
I will
with
Nina
our
Lamone to the
folks.
South.
And reason I want to do this because there's a lot of activity of talk about getting medical marijuana legalized now, and some of the legislators are saying how, when we've got 49 states that have legal medical marijuana, who's going to be the last state to do
Which
it?
is going to be the last state?
Which, not who, yes.
What do you
Which
guys
is going
think?
to be the last state?
Which state is going to be last to legalize cannabis?
But I'll tell you, Kentucky may not be the last state, based on what we're hearing in the testimony from
Or
these
Tennessee.
these folks that obviously are just making up reasons to get high.
Whatever, let them get high.
Obviously,
Kentucky makes the best hemp oil.
they do. That's very
That's where the
good
hemp oil
callback,
comes from.
Chella. Excellent callback.
Kentucky. I learned things from our show.
You learn things from our show. Kentucky is one of the states. It is Kentucky, right? I'm a little high from those two bowls of
Alabama,
of-
Kansas. No,
Nina
Kansas.
Limone.
Kansas might be the one.
No, it's not Kansas. No, it's Kentucky. Kentucky.
No, I'm saying the last.
Oh, the last.
one.
Yes.
Sammy's
I might,
saying.
or Wisconsin. Wisconsin might be, but they're trying
No,
to.
they're working on good
Yeah, they're
stuff.
working on it.
Anyway,
Okay,
go on.
I'm. Kansas might be good.
Kansas and
Sammy
Wade, I
knows.
think.
Sammy knows Kansas.
Casey's saying Kansas too.
Yeah.
Alabama,
Okay.
Kansas.
I'm on board that one.
All
I'm
right,
on
let's
board
see
that
the
one.
story.
So, but let's take a look. These are some testimony from three folks in Kentucky about why they should have medical marijuana legalized, and they are some compelling testimony. So let's take a look at these.
Okay.
My name is Mike Miller. I live in 104 12th Street. You know, I live here in Lexington. I've been here about 20 years, I guess. And back 15, 16 years ago, I was addicted to opiates. Really bad. I was taking so many. And I used cannabis to get off of the opiates. And then I went into a rehab to take care of myself. You know, and right now I'm a minister, and one of my big parts of my job is visiting the hospitals. You know, the cancer patients and the people really sick. And I see them dying every day. You know, I'm not saying that cannabis is going to make them live, but it will make them live comfortably. You know, I know that a couple of days ago, this lady, took out her chemo, and she was really, really bad. She couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. And she went back to her doctor, and I told her, ask the doctor about it. And he told her, he said, well, I can't recommend that. She said, so you're telling me no? He said, no, I'm just telling you I can't recommend it. She's like, I'm confused. He said, if I recommend it, I have a danger of losing my license. You know, and House Bill 166, that's what it's about, giving the doctors the freedom to recommend it. You know, it's really I'm not pushing for legalization by a long shot, but people that are sick should be allowed to get help the best way they can. You know, and so many, you turn on TV late at night, what do you see? You see advertisements for pills, and right behind it, the lawyers are advertising to sue the people that's selling you the pills. You know, it's a mess, a big mess, and I believe that would relieve a lot of the pressure. You know, and there's so many cures on this earth that God put here for us. And when man gets a hold of it, they twist it around and move it to where it just ruins everything. But I really think that if you get behind House Bill 166, you know, it would do a lot of good for a lot of people in the area. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Matthew Wilcoxon.
Hello, my name is Matthew Wilcoxon. Here in Lexington, Kentucky. Yes, I'm a 6-year war veteran, and by going out there and everything, I had ended up picking up anxiety, very bad, depression, PTSD, and I've had a lot of friends commit suicide because of it. And the medicines that I'm on, I'd never wanted to be on them, never. And I've tried to stop taking them. And I feel even worse than I did before I started taking them. And I went out to Colorado, spent some time out there, and I smoked cannabis, and it did make me feel better. And I mean, how the plant's been demonized, you know, it was all about race, political agenda, and whatnot. And it's a pretty sad thing. The plant was put here by God, and you know, I think you know, most of us patients and whatnot, especially the kids that have epileptic seizures, Parkinson's disease, cancer patients. I've had some friends die from cancer, and I wish they had the chance to use medicinal marijuana. So, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. I've got real bad anxiety. But, you know, I just please ask you to support House Bill 166. I'd like to talk more, but I really can't because my anxiety I can't. I'm sorry. But thank you,
Matthew,
for listening.
thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you for Chris Bressman. Have I pronounced that correctly? Briesman? Yes, sir.
My name's Chris Brisbane, in Lexington, Kentucky. My address is 2829 Michelle Park. 39 years old. At the age of 24, I became a 100% disabled veteran. Through no fault of my own, I was shot in Denver, Colorado, taking an airman home from a bar. From 2004 to today, I've been on a range of opiates from the VA to control chronic pain and PTSD after 24 major abdominal surgeries. These have included, but not limited to, Percocet, fentanyl, and morphine. Today I take methadone prescribed by the VA. The methadone was started in 2012. At its height, I was taking 60 milligrams of methadone per day. I've lost my teeth and my gallbladder while on methadone. The VA doctors couldn't take my gallbladder out the traditional way because of my massive scar wound, my massive scar from my gunshot wound. I was forced to undergo another major surgery in 2012. In 2016, the VA doctors were discussing putting me back on morphine and possibly a pain pump. I was desperate not to go back on these vicious, life-altering, addictive drugs. Prior to 2016, I never tried cannabis. After trying cannabis medicinally, I went down from 60 milligrams of methadone per day to 15 milligrams of methadone per day in a matter of a week. I believe this could be decreased even more if we could provide safe, legal, and affordable access to medicinal marijuana. With a small usage of medical cannabis every 2 to 3 days, I can live a pain-free life. My PTSD is under control. I can now go out into town without persistent fear. I've gained weight. I've gone from 150 pounds to 175 pounds. I've remarried in 2017. I can do things a stepfather should do with a young stepson. I can lead a normal life instead of being laid up in bed with serious, persistent, chronic pain. Currently, the Kentucky House has a bill up for consideration for medical cannabis. I urge you to support House Bill 166 and allow safe, legal access to medicinal marijuana. Please, I beg you, as a father, as a husband, and as a 100% disabled veteran, please allow me critical access to this critical medicine. Thank you for your time.
So there we have 3 voices of folks that obviously are making up an ailment so that they can get high.
Yeah, clearly.
Clearly.
They aren't crippled and paralyzed with fear from their war experiences or anything like that.
So this cat was a victim of gun violence involving alcohol in Denver.
Yep.
Had 24 surgeries, put on morphine and a bunch of other stuff, hooked on morphine, tries to get off of morphine with methadone, loses his teeth and his gallbladder to methadone, has to have his gallbladder ripped out of somewhere else. I'm not sure how they got to it, but had a weird surgery to get his gallbladder out.
Pot doesn't ruin any.
We're going to put him back on morphine. And he said, fuck no. I'm not doing it.
Not just no, fuck no.
And he tries cannabis for the first time. And in a week, he goes from 60 milligrams of methadone to 15 milligrams, and which is probably where he's at still, or maybe lower. I think if he was, he'd probably say so.
Yeah.
So, but he's obviously making it up to get high. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't happen. California had a really nice thing going here.
We did before Prop 64.
People wanted to get high. They had a shoulder pain and they got high.
I have a headache.
But people that needed medicine,
they could grow their own medicine. They could do their thing.
They could do everything, they needed. People could help them. Caregivers could help them. make the medicine for them, grow the medicine for them.
Right.
And
because it isn't easy to grow cannabis. I mean, for the average person.
Not for anything that's going to do anything for you.
I know right now I'm talking to some people who grow cannabis and think it's easy, but it ain't easy.
We have a big growing
we have a few growers
in
in the audience.
Few growers.
Awesome. I love it.
I would say dab more often, knowing you're going to do a dab every time I say dab.
But we're making up for it now. Casey Dabbins.
We haven't really. We're trying to bridge that gap between getting high on camera and informing and educating people, which a lot of shows are doing now. I enjoy a lot of the stuff from Cannabis Culture, and but we are as mainstream as pot smokers get. For the most part.
Yeah, we're pretty average.
And
we go to work,
we have good tolerance, but
yeah.
And we consume a lot of cannabis, but we don't. We haven't bought a dab rig.
No.
We used to have a bong. We don't even own a bong anymore.
That's because I don't like them.
So we're joint people, in a pipe with a nice flower, some sweet herbs, some nice sweet herb, as Abraham Lincoln never said, and sit on my porch. But 3 really compelling pieces of testimony from citizens of Kentucky.
Yeah.
And not Tennessee, if we did imply that. That was in Lexington, Kentucky.
No, I meant Kentucky, yeah.
And they have not passed any laws in Kentucky. Nebraska might be in the competition too.
With Kansas, what is it about the literal middle of the country?
What's the matter with Kansas? But I can go with Kansas. No, Oklahoma's got stuff happening.
All right.
As a matter of fact, we have something in the roll-up right now. We're gonna move on.
Roll that bud footage.
Actually, This is a news story about what's going on in Kentucky. So I'm gonna play that, and then we're gonna get into a couple other stories out of the South while we take a little break and see what's happening with these stories, and we'll be back after a couple of viddies. Bust them out if you haven't. Spark up. We're going to load another bowl of this. Nina Limone.
Nina Limone for Nina Simone's 85th birthday.
On the 85th birthday.
Spark up, everybody.
Nina Simone. We should
roll
play some
that
Nina.
footage. We don't dab.
Casey dabs every time we say dab.
3, 4. That was 40.
The medical marijuana debate really heating up.
Could this be the year medical marijuana becomes legal here in Kentucky? Lawmakers are considering it this session, but there has not been a vote. Good evening, everyone. I'm Doug Profit.
And I'm Lisa Hudson. However, that's not stopping a local group of supporters from making their voices heard, even though the governor is promising a veto.
1111's Robert Bradfield is live tonight downtown outside Metro Hall with a look at the latest push that includes several Metro Council members. Robert?
Yeah, that's right. There is bipartisan support, at least among 10 Metro Council members who are co-sponsors of this non-binding resolution urging state lawmakers to pass a medical marijuana bill. Tonight, the first of 3 town hall meetings scheduled in Louisville to discuss the possible legalization. Call it a community conversation about cannabis.
I medicated myself with marijuana for 35 or 40 years. Believe me, it worked for me.
Inside Linden City Hall, shared stories of how marijuana helped calm or eliminate certain medical conditions, including from Myra Mitchell's son, who did 3 tours in Iraq.
When they return, they find themselves not knowing what is wrong with them.
Her son was diagnosed with PTSD. She says his world came crashing down after his return. Mood swings, depression, and a divorce. But doctors medically prescribed him marijuana, and she says his lifestyle changed for the better.
All of this character, this being upset constantly and not playing, all of this changed.
But some are still on the fence, weighing whether legalizing medical marijuana would do more good than harm.
I just want to kick the tires, all the tires, and make sure that I come to the right reasoned conclusion.
State Representative Jason Nemes hasn't made up his mind about a current House bill that would legalize medical marijuana. He has reservations, but also hears stories similar to Mitchell's son.
It's important for me to hear what citizens think, not only because it educates me, but it allows me to to have some questions that I have answered.
It's an issue that's reigniting a debate, some believing it's about public safety, while others argue it's about their health. Now, House Bill 166, which would legalize medical marijuana, is currently in the Judiciary Committee. Governor Matt Bevin has warmed up to the idea of possibly allowing medical marijuana. However, he says he would veto any bill that would allow for recreational use. There are 2 other town hall meetings scheduled throughout Louisville next week. We posted that information along with the date and time, along with this story on WHAS11.com. We're live downtown tonight. Robert Bradfield, 11 at 11.
Chris Bressman? Have I pronounced that correctly? Briesman?
The medical marijuana debate really heating up. Should it be legal here in Oklahoma? You will vote on this. The medical marijuana.
Welcome back to Open Line. Our topic tonight, medical marijuana in Tennessee. But one thing we have not talked about tonight is where the federal government stands on this issue. We know it's a hot topic all across the country. What is the latest on that?
Emily, I wanted to read something for your listeners that very few Americans even understand took place. In 2014, the federal government, through the Federal Appropriations Act, put an amendment in there. The amendment is called the Roy Bacher-Blumenauer Amendment. I would encourage people to Google it. And I just want to read it for your viewers so they understand what I'm doing is actually legal with the federal government. And incidentally, every one of our U.S. senators and every one of our congressmen have voted for this amendment every year. This is what it says. None of the funds made available in this act to the Department of Justice may be used with respect to the states, and it lists all these states, including Tennessee, with such states from implementing their own state laws that authorize the use, distribution, possession, and or cultivation of medical marijuana. Now that's listed in your Federal Appropriations Act that comes through every year, and it came again in 2018, and this amendment goes on. So what I read in that and what I hear, and I've sat down with attorneys from the Brookings Institute, they're saying, Jeremy, they have tied the hands of the Department of Justice, and they cannot pursue what you're doing. Tennessee can move forward with medical marijuana just like every other state in America, and as you see, the Department of Justice has not lifted a finger to hurt any cultivation business, growing business, or manufacturing or dispensing business that is dealing with medical marijuana in any state in America. Incidentally, I also want you to understand that this started in Alaska. In 1995, Alaska passed the first medical marijuana bill. It's been there since then. And then California came right behind them, and it's been growing since then. So as far as the federal government, through this Federal Appropriations Act, has said absolutely you can do it.
It's important to clarify that, though, because again, I think there is some confusion on where it all kind of fits together. So thank you for clearing that up. All right, let's go to another caller. We have EJ on the line. EJ, are you still there?
Yeah, I am. Hey, first of all, I want to say I appreciate what you guys are doing. Been a nurse for a long time. I think the mountain that you're probably going to face is this dissemination of real science-based education and not, wives' tales about it. But I've seen the effects that just cannabidiol has had on people with epilepsy. I've seen how CBD with as little as 1% THC has helped with pain and anxiety. I know that it's going to help a lot of people, especially those who have a morphine equivalent daily dose of like 200. Right. You're having to make sure that they have Narcan in the home to, counteract the side effects of the opioid that we're having. And if my numbers are correct, people in this state over the age of 65 are being hospitalized 3 times more due to some opioid issue than they ever have been before. So I don't know what it's going to take to educate the general public, but I appreciate you guys' work.
Yeah, thank you for calling.
So it's nice when callers call and you.
He's making your case.
I agree.
Thank you. We appreciate
you. Thank you, EJ. So his points were all very accurate, and really part of it's disinformation, misinformation, wives' tales. A lot of this goes back to the 1980s, and to be sure, we've got a drug problem. I mean, there's a prescription drug problem. There's also an illegal drug problem that we have. That's why we're trying to be very careful with this. carve it out and make it available to the proper patients. And so we don't want to contribute to that. In fact, we want to reduce that burden. And as an earlier caller had talked about the prison system, we're trying to make sure these people who need our help are not going to prison because they're simply sick. They're not being driven to go to another state, to move to Colorado, to move to a state where they can get cannabis for medical purpose. And so again, I agree with them, and I believe your statistics about the overdose in the geriatric population, I think, is pretty accurate.
All right, let's move on to another caller. Howie, you are live on Open Line. What is your question?
Well, first off, I'd like to thank both gentlemen for what they are doing. As a former Oregon marijuana patient, I moved to Tennessee from Oregon. I have Parkinson's and PTSD as well. I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for medical marijuana and cannabis, I would be in my wheelchair every day. I get up in the morning. I have a friend that comes in from another state. He brings me some cannabis oil. I get up in the morning, and I can take a little bit of that oil and not have to take my medication for Parkinson's that makes me nauseous. And I have called Jeremy Pace's office, and I have offered I will come in and testify in front of these people and show them what I go through without medical marijuana. I'm sorry. I get emotional over this. Yep. I see my family suffer because they see what I go through from my servers, and something needs to be done. We need this here.
Thank you, Howie. We appreciate your call. Again, another impassioned plea there. I'm sure you hear this from a lot of people.
I do, and we have so many volunteers who want to come in and testify. Right. We could fill up the entire, and thank you for your offer, and we take your offer sincerely and appreciate it. We have hundreds and hundreds of people in Tennessee who have had, if not this exact experience, a very similar one. And the interesting one in my line of work that we see is people who come in from states where medical cannabis is legal. They move to Tennessee, it's like somebody pulls a rug out from under them. And whether it's pain or in his case PTSD and Parkinson's, it's thought that it works well with some of the movement disorders like Parkinsonism. And again, PTSD to me is almost the poster child for medical cannabis because it has all sorts of problems with anxiety, sleep disorder, appetite problems, and when you get someone who responds, and not all PTSD patients respond, but when you get someone who responds, you can have someone whose quality of life is enhanced dramatically with very limited side effects.
All right, let's take one more before we take a quick break here. Barbara, you are live on Open Line. What is your question?
Yes, thank you so much for taking my call. My medical history is I had transverse myelitis back in 2001, and I also have Ehlers-Danlos with hypermobility, which has been a lifetime. I'm 57 of chronic pain. And I am also severely allergic to many, many medications to the point where I go into anaphylactic shock. So my medication my medications that I can take are so limited, but medical cannabis has allowed me to control my pain, to function. But what the real shame about it is that we as patients, so many of us are afraid to tell our doctors in a state where it's not legal because many doctors will drop us as patients. The doctors are missing out on all this great information and results that we're getting because we're fearful of sharing what we're using to not take pharmaceuticals, to have quality of life, and they don't know it. And so the medical community is missing out, and the general public's missing out on this great information. You know, unless we are brave enough to share it, you know, most of us are sharing that information anonymously. And I'm just praying for the day that last caller I started crying thinking about him, you know, suffering so and needing this medicine. It's the best medicine out there. And the improvements that I've had, the medications that I've been able to get off of and function properly, and we need it so bad. And it's just
well, Barbara, we appreciate you calling. I'm going to unfortunately have to cut you off here. We're going to take a
So that was News Channel 5 in the morning out of Tennessee. They had like 4 or 5 segments of callers that they had on this subject. A couple of cannabis activists there moving on a bill in Kentucky for medical cannabis, which is a pretty good one, as I recall. It, well, basically it says leave the doctors alone, right? Is that Kentucky?
Yeah.
Or maybe that was another one. But the guy is incorrect. We must correct the record because this is a cannabis show, and we aim to educate about cannabis. And
it sounded wrong to me.
Yeah, it sounded wrong to me too.
I mean, you know, I read stuff and I remember it. It gets stuck in my brain. If I see it, I read it, I know. And I thought California was the first.
You are correct. California, yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I knew it was wrong.
No, I know. It's just always nice to hear.
California passed Prop 215 in 1996.
Yeah, before Alaska.
Alaska, and this is from the Alaska Anchorage Daily News, their timeline of notable events in marijuana history in Alaska, 1998. The use of marijuana for medical purposes became legal with 69% of the voters signing onto a citizens' initiative.
Yeah.
So California was first in 1996,
Yay,
though. Thank
California.
you for moving this issue forward in Tennessee. Good news. That was Kentucky was the other bill. I don't know what this bill is in Tennessee. We should find all those. You should go. What you should do, and what I need to do really is I need to subscribe to Marijuana Moment. Tom Engel over there keeps track of everything that's going on around. So
serious about it.
We pick up our information.
We just
about,
fuck around.
When we find the stories in the media. And when we find marijuana in the mainstream media, we sort of try to back it up with some information from some of the great marijuana news reporting that's going on.
Yeah.
By people around.
Casey's hoping that we should do a call-in story show.
We're going to do that. I actually have I have the number already ready up in OBS.
Oh, wow.
I have a phone number on Skype. So I'm glad to hear that is something people might want to do.
The people want. We are giving the people what you
and
want.
I'll tell you what we might actually do is I'm gonna try to integrate that next week.
Ooh,
with Pat Harris.
For Pat Harris.
What do you think?
No, that's too much. Too much.
Because I don't have a way to screen the calls.
Mm-mm.
So it would be just, hey, roll with it.
Nope. Too much all at once.
So, but that'll be happening soon.
road.
If that's something people would do, I don't know. I don't know if people have phones anymore. But they call in, like Tim Black gets calls all the time, and
people
now
call
Jamal,
in from their cell phone.
Jamal does call-ins on his show. So I have that. It's been in the back of my head.
Good.
Potheads think alike. It's true.
Yay! Thanks, Casey.
Very creative. Must be the sativa. And yes, low temperature dabbing. We were enjoying a rig last night.
Oh,
pen.
that's what it was.
Yeah, that was a pen that Alex had. It was a low temperature
really small.
concentration. Very small chamber. The one we saw at Cornerstone for $100
in Eagle Rock.
For
all my
was
Eagle
a
Rockers watching.
Looked like a very nice, very elegant unit. It was $100, and it had a pretty big ceramic chamber. So that might be a way to get us into dabbing, as opposed to with the butane and
dabbing is just hash, basically.
Yeah, and
stop calling it dabbing. It's hash.
you can fry your THC receptors.
Yeah, I don't need to do things all the time, but at a party it might be fun.
Might be fun. That's something we'd do regularly.
But at a party at a trusted friend's house, because I wouldn't want it with any kind of weirdness on it.
So good stuff coming out of Tennessee and Kentucky, and I think Oklahoma. I had trouble getting this video to play, but I'm going to try it one more time. And if it does, we'll watch it. If not, we'll move on to the next Southern video in this block. Here we go. Oklahoma. Cross your fingers. Oklahoma.
The medical marijuana debate really heating up. Should it be legal here in Oklahoma? You will vote on this come June.
And tonight we're looking at both sides here. A local veteran who says he needs it, and a local doctor turned state senator who says not so fast.
It helps me. It's drastic and life-changing for me.
Oklahoman Cody Barlow, Navy veteran, medical marijuana advocate.
Medical marijuana helps me with PTSD, depression, anxiety, pain, many ailments and illnesses.
I just think it's too easily abused.
Senator Irvin Yen, cardiac anesthesiologist, opponent of medical marijuana for Oklahomans with PTSD, anxiety, and depression.
I've just so far not seen any good data that shows its use for those three purposes. Maybe there will be in the future.
Senator Yen believes at this point medical marijuana should only be legal in Oklahoma with limits on who can get a prescription. State Question 788, which will be on the Oklahoma ballot this June, doesn't specify who could be treated with medical marijuana. It leaves it up to doctor discretion for anyone 18 and older. Cody Barlow says he's used medical marijuana for the very ailments Senator Yen doesn't think it helps. He tried it in Colorado where it's legal.
And it's such a safe alternative to many of the different pills that the veterans like myself and many other people have to take.
It's a huge mistake. It's really recreational marijuana.
And again, Senator Yen says he thinks there should be further studies. He introduced his own Senate bill with more specifics this year. Oklahomans vote on State Question 788, June 26th.
June 26, Oklahomans. And you know, if there's other stuff on the ballot and people are going out to vote, you know, cannabis always wins. It's a fact.
It's true.
And it always wins big. So if people are going to the polls
nowadays
for
it does.
primaries or special elections and there's cannabis on the ballot, it's going to do well.
Cannabis is doing well now. There was a moment when it was stalling, but now I think the population is in a place where we can make all sorts of good things happen. You know, as far as getting it off the Schedule 1 and things like that.
All right, well, we're going to move now into Alabama. Our last couple of stories down in the South. Lots of news coming out of the South this week. That's pretty exciting. And all really kind of good news, too. So here we go. Here's a couple of stories coming out of Alabama.
Now, coverage you can count on involving Alabama politics. Lawmakers are set to take up a bill that would reduce penalties for people found in possession of marijuana.
News 5's Katarina Lukatich explains what that would mean for those caught using pot and what people here on the Gulf Coast think about it.
A bill in the legislature would not legalize the use of marijuana, but lessen the penalties for those found with a small amount of it. Some are for it.
You don't usually see people robbing stores because they're high on pot as opposed to some harder drugs. I think to some extent, yes, it should be decriminalized to a point.
Others think the law is fine the way it is.
Leave it alone.
If the proposed bill passes, you won't end up behind bars here if you're caught in possession of marijuana. Under the proposed legislation, possession of 1 ounce or less would be a violation of no more than $250. A third offense would go on your criminal record and could cost you up to $500. That's a big difference from current law. Right now, if you're arrested for possession of marijuana, you face up to a year of jail time and up to a $6,000 fine. A second offense carries up to a 10-year jail sentence and a $15,000 fine. Sponsors of the bill say it's intended to keep young people from being hurt with serious criminal records for use of pot. Many we spoke with agree.
They're going to experiment with things anyway, so I think that throwing something like jail time into it is just detrimental to their future.
But others believe if the drug is illegal, keep the penalties.
People that's sick and everything, yeah, okay, but these others, they misuse it and everything.
The bill lessening the penalties for possession of marijuana is scheduled to be debated in both the Alabama House and Senate Judiciary Committees this week. For News 5, I'm Katarina Lukatich.
Well, a gorgeous...
New tonight, a bill to reduce the penalty for possession of marijuana was voted down in a House committee. Representative Patricia Todd's bill would make being caught with 1 ounce or less of marijuana a citation, just like a parking ticket. Under the current law, possession of personal use marijuana is a misdemeanor on the first offense and a low-level felony on the second offense.
What I hear from law enforcement and DAs is they're really tired of arresting people for a little bit of weed. And the courts are already clogged up with other serious offenders, and they just want this to sort of not be something they have to prosecute or take to court.
There is a bill in the Senate to reduce marijuana punishment. It is moving to the Senate floor for debate.
Alabama is currently off the list.
They don't have to arrest people for weed. They can choose not to.
That's true. I believe that's true.
They enforce the laws that they want to enforce.
Except that second offense is a felony.
Which is why they shouldn't even make it a first offense. The cops don't have to arrest people for that. They can just turn a blind eye. They can choose.
And it got voted down.
Change those politicians. And it's 2018. This is the year of cannabis. Now is the time. It's all happening.
This is the year of cannabis.
It's super green.
Absolutely.
You got to be green.
Making America great again, just not the way you planned.
That's right. Not the way you thought.
Just not the way you thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, that needed another bowl of Nina Limon.
This Nina Limon is fantastic.
We're enjoying it's like enjoying a nice bottle of wine while we're hanging out with friends on YouTube at DC420LA.
And a million other places that we're streaming.
And Twitch and D-Live on Steemit, where we've earned Steam already.
Woo, Steam!
Can't wait to spend my Steam.
Yay, Steam. No, save your Steam.
Save my Steam. It's an investment. Awesome.
Save your Steam.
And that was our southern block. Good news coming out of the South. Not so much in Alabama, but Kentucky, Tennessee, seeing some movement for medical marijuana. Alabama might be on that list. Although they're trying, so maybe not. I think Kansas might hold its place at the top of the list of last state.
Of the last state that's going to legalize cannabis.
That's right.
It's entirely possible.
So let's move on to a couple of other stories.
So is Kansas the Midwest? It's the Midwest, right? It's the center of the country.
It's the
center breadbasket
of the country.
That's
Indeed.
what the Midwest is, right? The
Bible Belt.
That's the center.
It's the Bible Belt.
Midwest is just to the left of them, isn't it? The other ones, like the Utah and Nevada.
Utah's technically west.
Oh, Utah's west.
Yeah, Utah's considered west. Let's move into the west, shall we?
Let's move into the west.
Let me make sure that I adjust this west. I think I did.
Let me look up a map.
We're going to roll it. We're going to roll it. We're going to roll with this playlist.
Well, new at 6 o'clock tonight, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and that includes legal marijuana. 13 Action News reporter Nina Porshunkala joins us live from McCarran International Airport, where people are safely getting rid of their pot. Nina.
Well, recreational marijuana is legal in Nevada, but you can't take pot to any airport property. That's why even before you go through those doors, you're going to see green bins like this. This is where you're supposed to drop off your pot.
Whether you're using marijuana recreationally or medically, it's important to dispose of it properly.
Some people say having these green metal bins called amnesty boxes is a good idea. McCarran International Airport recently installed 13 of these bins to be used as drop-off boxes for marijuana and other drugs.
This is an opportunity to mitigate the risk to yourself and just go ahead and surrender it.
Last year, Clark County Commission banned marijuana on Department of Aviation properties. That includes McCarran, Henderson, and North Las Vegas airports. But if you're thinking anyone can just walk up to the boxes and take whatever is inside, management tells us that's impossible. You can't get your hands in there and reach in. The boxes are also bolted to the ground and are constantly monitored by airport personnel. So what happens to the drugs collected from these bins?
We have a professional services contract with a company that will be disposing of whatever surrendered in the most appropriate way.
Also, remember, marijuana is still banned under federal law. So even if you can buy it here legally in Nevada, it's illegal to travel with it. Some say other airports should follow suit.
Well, at least they're trying to deal with it safely instead of, like I said, just being in the garbage where a little.
Well, new details are emerging about the Cannabis church that's suing the city for more than $1 million after being raided by San Diego police. 7 pounds of marijuana were taken. 10 News reporter Jennifer De La Cruz is joining us. And Jen, you got a firsthand look at the damage allegedly done by police during that raid.
Yeah, Lindsay, it's all cleaned up now, but they're still not happy about it. This might not look like your average church, but they tell me everything that they do inside really isn't all that different. The attorney representing the church tells me the cannabis that's given out and consumed is all protected under the First Amendment. The Cannabis Church calls this a place of sanctuary, with pillows for prayer, rooms for relaxation. After a police raid 3 weeks ago, it looked a lot different.
They were just sent to destroy, which is exactly what they did.
Drawers ransacked, furniture flipped over, jars of marijuana opened and emptied. Alana Reeves says they took 7 pounds of marijuana and caused $75,000 in damage.
The table was flipped over. All of the religious relics were just on the floor, destroyed. They had liquids spill out on the floor. And I've never heard of a church where people go in the church to destroy things.
Even their members still healing from injuries.
The zip ties, and those were really hurting, and my blood wasn't circulating at the time, and that's when they started burning.
The $1 million claim against the city states the raid took place because the church doesn't have a license to distribute cannabis.
We don't have any sacrament right now. It was all taken from us.
They say they're not a dispensary and use cannabis as sacrament, similar to how other religions use wine. If their claim is rejected, the next step is filing a lawsuit. Until then, the church doors are still open.
They're coming to our churches because we're not just trying to get people high. We educate them and really customize a healing program for each of our members.
Now, 10 News reached out to the city. They declined to comment due to that pending litigation. Coming up on 10 News at 7 o'clock, I spoke to one woman who tells me how cannabis and this church helped save her life. Reporting live in Midway, Jennifer De La Cruz, 10 News.
Jen, thank you.
Well, 15 months after California voters made recreational marijuana legal, thousands of people in Fresno County are still carrying convictions for activities no longer considered crimes. Action News anchor Corin Hoggard shows us why they're in a much different boat than people in other parts of the state.
Prop 64 changed everything when it came to pot laws. Not only did it legalize recreational marijuana, allowing people to have up to an ounce, it also applied retroactively to just about anyone ever convicted of a cannabis crime. Defense attorneys estimate 10,000 people in Fresno County alone are eligible to have misdemeanors dismissed or felonies reduced to misdemeanors, which could drastically change their lives.
It's the best thing you could do to clear your record in terms of employment, education, etc.
But legal analyst Tony Capozzi says the new law didn't make it easy to get rid of the criminal records.
Go out and try to find a lawyer, hire them. Most people can't afford it. I don't think the public defender's office can handle the volume of cases coming in at this point.
The process starts by getting a petition, filling it out, and submitting it to the courts. Critics say it can be costly and may require legal help. So over the last few months, district attorneys in San Francisco, Alameda County, and San Diego County, among others, have announced plans to bypass the petition process and do it on their own. Leaders at the Fresno County District Attorney's Office tell me they have no plans to do proactive dismissals.
There's no requirement that the DAs do that. It just depends on the area you're in. We in Fresno happen to be in a more conservative area.
Right now, attorneys say the cases are trickling in, leaving thousands of people with criminal records they could erase. Corin Hoggard, ABC 30, Action News.
On a side note, some great names of these reporters.
Yeah.
Kalutsky or Goggins. I mean, great names. What's up, reefer revolutionaries? DC.
An update now to the story we brought you yesterday about a pot co-op farmers market in Tacoma that was raided and then shut down over the weekend. The Liquor and Cannabis Board got back to us today saying the farmers market framework for buying and selling pot was disbanded a couple years ago. Officials added that there are legal ways to obtain a license to have a cooperative pot grow between multiple card holders.
I mean, I think that the impacts of not having licenses could be pretty severe.
The road to legal pot is hitting a few potholes. A new report from a cannabis business organization shows only a fraction of the marijuana cultivators in California have state approval to operate.
New tonight, CBS 13's Jubilea is live in downtown Sacramento with what's causing the holdup, Drew.
Well, a fraction might actually be an overstatement. According to this report from the California Growers Association, less than 1% of the cultivators in the state have requirements and licenses from the state in order to operate. And because of this, it's likely that the product getting from the farms to the people is going to be in a backlog.
California grows more cannabis than any other state, but most of it is still being grown illegally.
They're going to go further into the shadows. They're going to put their heads back down.
Hezekiah Allen is the executive director of the California Growers Association. His organization interviewed thousands of growers and found several issues with the licensing process.
What we're trying to do is highlight these problems early enough that hopefully some of these businesses have a pathway forward.
Getting approval is a long process for cultivators. Before the state can sign off on these papers, cultivators must first get approval from their local jurisdiction, and each one of those could be totally different.
We think that's about as many as 70% of the growers in the state simply can't get a permit to apply for a license.
Sacramento has more than 150 cultivators who've submitted a city application, but none have been approved so far.
We're in the process of evaluating those proposals right now.
Even so, Sacramento still may be ahead of the curve. Some cities and counties have banned marijuana, while others haven't yet finished writing their cannabis laws.
You're seeing different rules, different regulations. What's compliant in one county could be a violation in another county.
One-time fees in the hundreds of thousands of dollars are another permitting obstacle to smaller operations.
A bigger business that's going to do a lot more volume can absorb those costs a lot more readily.
And with so few of these licensed operators, the state is also missing out on the tax revenue to the tune of about $5 billion over the course of the year. So that's why getting these companies licensed is such an urgent issue. Also, the product backlog that we're seeing at a lot of dispensaries, not only local to Sacramento, but across the entire state, is likely to continue.
Yeah, lots to work out here. All right, Jubilea live in Sacramento for us, Drew. Thank you.
Jubilea. There's another one. Jubilea. Thanks, Jubilea. I must be really high because the names are really tickling me tonight. Yes, welcome to the Cannabis Church, DC's 420 Cannabis Church on Sundays at 420. We have just finished our gram of sacrament in honor of Nina Simone's birthday, and with Nina Limone, some sacrament there. As the Cardinal of Cannabis here with the Wiccan of Weed.
The Wiccan of Weed. I like it.
And in the YouTube chat, the Deacon of Dabs, KC Dabbin. This is DC420LA live. Subscribe to the channel, get notifications when we go live. So yeah, we've got a problem. Oregon, you still in the house? Is that KC Dabbins is in Oregon, right?
Yeah.
We need some of your weed that you just picked.
Yeah, that you're processing.
I wish we could have like a favored nations agreement between two states. Maybe maybe we can figure that out through the UN, or maybe it
looks like Arachnid Soul knows about Canada. It looks like they're planning to do it like that between different parts of Canada.
Oh, really? Yes, I heard about that. Yes, thank you, Arachnid Soul, for bringing that up. I did hear about that. Also, I think it might be happening in a bill in Oregon or somewhere in the States as well. I'm not sure where the state, but I heard about it somewhere. It came up as an issue of trade. So we've got a glut of it up in Oregon. If that's the case, I understand, Casey.
Make oil. Make oil.
Make oil. Yeah. I mean, I guess, I don't know. But, if it's anything like here in California, the extra supply is going somewhere. And it's not lowering the prices in California. I got to tell you that, as far as the recreational end goes, because this was, I think, 18. How much was this for the gram?
I think it was 18. You have the receipt there, and we bought the special because it was a special, but it was outside of
Nina Limone was $16 a gram.
Oh wow, not bad. Plus 30% tax.
$16 bottle of wine. The Calder. Did we get Calder?
Yeah, that's what we got a quarter of.
Oh, that was the 7 grams. Okay, so that ended up being $52 for a quarter gram. So yeah, we're not experiencing the demand is definitely keeping the price up here in California. So it'd be nice to get some of that Oregon weed down here somehow into the supply chain. Legally, of course. You know, the track and trace system here is affecting all. But
now that it's legal, it sure is a lot more illegal.
Listen, if it's off of Schedule 1, one of the stories in this next block out of the East Coast, won't necessarily be a problem, because if it's not a controlled substance, then you're not transporting a controlled substance across state lines.
So deschedule.
There are lots of implications to descheduling, removing cannabis from the Schedule and the Controlled Substances Act. So
yeah.
Let's roll into our Eastern Bloc. Our Eastern Bloc, not to be confused with the Russiagate.
Go on now.
Go on.
Don't get all distracted with the mainstream.
Well, we're winding up. We're high. We took that 20 milligram mint.
We're not driving anywhere.
We're not driving anywhere.
Not a studio.
Here we go. Did you know there was a town by the name of Agawam?
No, I did not know that.
In Massachusetts?
I did not know that. I'm not very familiar with Massachusetts, though.
Agawam. I think this is Massachusetts. They do a lot. These guys cover pot like crazy. WWLP 22 News. That's Machado, the reporter. That's the cannabis reporter. I'm sure she does more than cannabis, but all we ever see her do are marijuana reports. But
you don't mean cocaine or mushrooms?
No. Reporting on the topics.
More than that. I see.
Yeah, and so I think she's in one of these. But boy, WWLP out of Massachusetts. Of course, Massachusetts going legal this year.
It's a big news story, and I think they realize that it's the pulse of the community and
the country.
Everybody's talking about weed, so they cover it a lot, which is genius.
They cover it like a blanket.
So let's see what they did.
Let's see. Here we go. WWLP 22 News.
A medical marijuana facility is coming to Agawam. The dispensary will operate at 584 Meadow Street Extension, the old Herzenberg building near the Route 57 Rotary. Mayor William Sapelli announced a host community agreement between the town and debilitating medical condition treatment centers. Mayor Sapelli said the dispensary will provide additional tax revenues. While some residents believe it is important to have a medical marijuana facility, others don't really like the idea.
People are going to take a lot of advantage of it, and then as soon as you know it, I feel like this whole town will be full of marijuana.
I think it's a lot better to buy it at the dispensary instead of off the streets. I think they should put a dispensary in Agawam.
There is no set date on when the dispensary plans to open.
Ever wonder what 100 pounds of marijuana looks like? Looks like this. Police in Penn Township say they found all of this during a traffic stop today. The police chief credits keen officers and a canine's nose.
Massachusetts is preparing to roll out the state's recreational marijuana industry. 22 News State House reporter Alicia Machado is live in Boston, where they've determined the technology that will track and help regulate the marijuana industry.
In order to get the industry up and running, Massachusetts will need software for licensing and tracking cannabis plants and products from seed to sale. The Cannabis Control Commission Tuesday approved contracts with 2 companies that will provide software necessary for the rollout of the marijuana industry. The commission will get licensing software from JD Software, based out of Salem, and seed-to-sale software called Metric from a Florida-based company. California, Colorado, and Nevada use the system, which enables government agencies to track marijuana plants and products and ensure the law is being enforced.
Getting the contracts done as quickly as you guys did gave us a good chance of getting done in time.
Metric will cost $65,000 per year for the state to license the system. There will also be licensee fees, including a $40 per month service fee and charges for plant and packaging tags. But it's unclear yet as to who will pay for these costs, the commission or the licensees.
The commission could choose to assume or absorb that $40 a month per licensee service fee. The commission could also entertain the concept of paying for the tags themselves.
The commission plans to take up the issue at their next meeting. The commission will meet again next week. They have until March 15th to finalize those regulations for the marijuana industry. Live at the State House in Boston, Alicia Machado for 22 News.
The debate to legalize recreational marijuana is gaining momentum across Maryland, but some are urging lawmakers to slow down the process. Jonathan McCall is live with the concerns from several groups today. Jonathan?
Denise, Senate Bill 1039 would legalize the sale of recreational marijuana here in Maryland. Supporters say it's something that is long overdue, but opponents think differently and believe that the state still has plenty of work to do and should look west to cities now impacted by the decision.
Senate Bill 1039 is reigniting the debate on legalized marijuana here in Maryland.
Well, to be honest with you, I think it's past time.
Under the proposed bill, which would amend the Maryland Constitution, people over the age of 21 could carry up to an ounce of marijuana. People could also grow up to 6 plants and also share small amounts.
Something that causes thousands of people every year to enter into the criminal justice system.
Maryland lawmakers heard from both sides of the issue for the first time Tuesday in Annapolis. Supporters say if passed, thousands will be kept out of jail, while the state can safely regulate a nearly $10 billion a year industry.
In fact, we've seen some of the funding raised from legalization be able to go to public education programs to educate people.
Opponents are now asking lawmakers to hit the brakes.
At this point, we know that the state of Maryland is woefully ill-prepared to deal with the consequences of legalizing marijuana here in the state. We're still actually trying to iron out how to deal with the medical marijuana program here.
AAA Maryland says that the state should look west at the impact of recreational marijuana. The agency says in Denver alone, drunk driving crashes, arrests, and deadly crashes are up. AAA also says that more time is needed to better prepare law enforcement officers on detection.
For the user, how do they know that they're safe to drive? It's not like alcohol where you can say, well, at .08, you're considered legally drunk.
A 2017 Gallup poll showed 64% of Americans were in favor of legalizing recreational marijuana, but opponents fear that Maryland could be headed for a dangerous trap.
We're a firm believer in history, and we all know that history tends to repeat itself.
The bill is still in its early stages, and if approved by Maryland voters, Maryland would join just 9 other states in the country where recreational marijuana is legal. Reporting live tonight, I'm Jonathan McCall reporting for WJZ.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. Now, lawmakers would have to approve the bill before Marylanders could then vote on it.
Every patient that comes in has to have a state-issued, Department of Health-issued a medical marijuana card.
Ryan Smith gives us a tour of the medical marijuana dispensary that's set to open in a shopping center along the Fruitville Pike in Manham Township next month.
Patients are going to get a necessary medicine to help cure their ills.
Smith has operated dispensaries in Colorado.
Colorado, like the Silicon Valley. Cannabis.
That hasn't stopped dispensaries there and in other states from closing their doors due to lack of demand or other factors. Smith believes he's got the blueprint precedent for a successful venture here.
Great access to the public transport here, to the highways here, a lot of retail.
The products come from licensed growers across the state in the form of oils, creams, and vapors.
For patients to come in and talk to the pharmacist, talk to our medical professionals we have on staff and our patient consultants, and find out what's the right medicine for them.
Dispensaries and growers must comply with numerous regulations.
Everything is tracked from seed to sale.
The state has mandated dispensaries to provide a lot of security, from surveillance systems to alarms and locked doors, so much so that we can't even go beyond this point to show you where the product will be stored.
We have a number of security measures in place, everything from the front door all the way through to some of our back of house security, that we ensure that the patients feel safe.
As patients gain access to a treatment they hope will meet their needs. In Lancaster County, Barbara Barr, WGAL News 8.
WGAL News 8 out of Pennsylvania. That's Pennsylvania. So, Agawam, they got their new medical dispensary as Massachusetts moves forward with recreational. So, you know, they're hopefully not forgetting their patients in the whole rush to recreational cannabis. But, and the dangers of marijuana. That guy was very dramatic.
It's dangerous
For Maryland.
if you don't have any, maybe. It's
What was it?
dangerous. It can be
Well,
costly.
It was the opioid crisis. We have an opioid crisis. 400 people are dead since January 1st this year,
Right,
as of last week,
right.
from opioids.
Nobody
That's the
dies
opioid
of
crisis.
cannabis.
You know what a cannabis crisis is?
Yeah.
Your guy is not in town.
Yeah, your guy's not answering his phone.
That
not
is-
responding to your texts.
That's a cannabis crisis.
That's a cannabis crisis. Or you don't have any money to buy any that week. That's a cannabis crisis.
Or you're
Dude, you guys, I'm having a hot flash. I'm
Okay.
so sorry.
Open the doors!
I'm trying so hard.
Open the
to be cool about it,
doors!
but I'm dying right now.
Beware, folks. Coach Cella may get naked at any moment. And that'll about wrap up the show today, folks. That was our last video. So good timing on the hot flash.
Widen out to see the pets.
Up there. Okay, wait, I'll put on pet cam
Pet cam.
while we talk about rolling out here. It's been a great show. This, of course, is DC420. I think we made it out over the streams live all the whole time. D Live, Facebook, Periscope, Twitch. I hope you're watching there. If you are, drop us a note. Hashtag DC420LA. Subscribe and get notifications on all of the social media at DC420LA. That's how you can find us. And let us know where you're watching from. Now, next week, we have, of course, Pat Harris, progressive Democrat, challenging Dianne Feinstein in the June primary here in California. And I'm trying to get the pet cam up without. Wait, let me find it. We were watching. There it is. Okay, we're watching Chella have her hot flash in my background. There's the pet cam.
This is real, people.
This is real. Perimenopause is real. But we've almost gone 3 hours, so we'd love to do this show, and it's the first one in 3 hours. Not bad. So next week, guys. Next week, join us for DC420LA, the Week in Weed, when we have Pat Harris, progressive. We're going to have a cannabis conversation in this community. Let us know what questions you have for Pat, and we're going to have David Hildebrand in the weeks to come. We're going to commit him to a Sunday to come on, and this, of course, is DC420LA.
No pressure.
He said he did, so I think I think he does. But maybe I hope they've watched our show. And Pat, if you haven't, and that's fine.
It's cool if you don't want to come, but we'd love to have you.
We have a good time. The pets are fun.
I'm feeling more Dank and Dabby right now than Joe and Mika.
Than Joe and Mika, right? Yeah, we're more into Dank and Dabby mode. The mints are coming on, but we'll start with you at the beginning of the show, so it'll be great. And
Before the haul.
We'll do our haul. Maybe we'll postpone our haul until after.
Yeah, we'll do the haul after.
After the interview, yeah. So it'll all be good. We'll have a lot of great questions. It'll be a great time. We have a lot of fun here on DC420LA, and we'll see you next week for the Week in Weed.
Bye, thank you.
Pot for peace.
Peace out, potheads.
Murderers keep murdering, the churches keep a-burning, the rapists keep a-raping, and the tide ain't turning. Uncle Sam, for all your power, things get worse every hour. It seems to me your energy's unwasted, chasing my friends and me. So hey, Uncle Sam, hey there, Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. The terrorists keep terrorizing, our leaders keep a-lying, the haters keep a-hating, and the planet's dying. Uncle Sam, do what's proper, call off your dogs and your helicopters. The problems of society were not caused by my friends and me. So hey, Uncle Sam, hey there, Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. How many innocent people gonna be imprisoned? We just peace and love and street pop and brotherhood freaks. A touch of Mother Nature never made nobody violent, never made nobody hate, nobody will break nobody's peace. It's never been shown to be harmful. Don't you tell me no lies with your caffeine, codeine, nicotine eyes. The cannabis ban is just recent, just since 1938. To re-legalize it, realize it. You made a big mistake.